I met her at that perfection. And it hit me like I'd won the lottery. I stood by the drinks table that night after marriage, watching her laugh across the room. Club dance video fueled my suspicions. Unreal, leading me to test her confidence with an actor. It was like nothing I'd seen. I muttered to myself, "Lucky break," and added, "Can't believe it." The music played, and I felt the rush, the house buzzing. The clock ticked, and I knew I had to talk to her. She was amazing. The next day, I asked her out, and she said yes, and I thought, too good. My friends met her that weekend, all wide-eyed, saying she's a catch, and I nodded, yeah. I muttered, "What did I do?" and added, "I didn't understand what I did to deserve such a treasure. I wasn't the handsomest, not the smartest, but she chose me." The coffee shop hummed, and I felt the pride, the life changing. The chair creaked, and I saw the envy, the doubt starting. Everyone loved her. That afternoon, we went to a barbecue, and my buddy Dave clapped me on the back, saying, "You hit gold." I thought, they're right, and muttered, "She shines, the admiration clear." I added, "Too much maybe, the unease creeping." She mingled, laughing with everyone, and I felt the tension grow, the house full, the grill sizzled, and I watched her, the life a dream. The sun hit, and I kept quiet, the worry faint. She caught their eyes. That evening we walked home, and I noticed guys staring, their heads turning, and I thought, she likes it. She smiled back at one, her glance lingering, and I muttered, odd reaction, adding, enjoying it. The streetlights glowed, and I felt discomfort rise, the house near. She said, "Nice night," her voice light, and I nodded, yeah, my tone flat. The door clicked, and I saw the pattern, the life shifting. It bothered me. The next morning, I made breakfast, eggs sizzling, and thought, something's off. She hummed, checking her phone, and I muttered, too perfect, the suspicion starting. I added, maybe I was too sensitive. Maybe I just didn't want to see the obvious, the doubt growing. The pan clanked, and I felt the tension build, the house quiet. The window showed the yard, and I watched her, the life a question. She stayed flawless. That afternoon, we shopped, and the cashier flirted, saying, "You're stunning," and she laughed. "Thanks." I thought again and muttered, "She takes it, the unease clear." I added, not stopping it, the worry deepening. The bags rustled, and I felt the anger simmer. The store busy. The door jingled, and I saw her charm, the life facade. The car started, and I kept quiet, the doubt await. Friends kept praising. That evening, we had dinner with my sister, who said, "She's perfect for you," and I thought, they all say it. I muttered too much praise and added, hiding something? The plates clinked, and I felt the tension hold, the house warm. She smiled, "Glad you think so," her tone sweet, and I nodded, "Sure," my voice steady. The light dimmed, and I saw the envy, the life a mask. I noticed more. The next day, we walked in the park, and a guy waved, her waving back, and I thought, friendly or what? I muttered, too friendly, and added, she likes the attention, the suspicion rising. The path crunched, and I felt the discomfort grow, the trees quiet. She said, "Nice day," her voice light, and I said, "Yeah," my tone flat. The bench creaked, and I saw the glances, the life shifting. It gnawed at me. That afternoon, I sat on the couch or out and thought, what's wrong? The silence was thick, and I muttered, too good to be true, the doubt clear. I added, maybe I was too sensitive. Maybe I just didn't want to see the obvious, the worry firm. The TV stayed off, and I felt the tension rise, the house empty. The windows showed the street, and I planned to watch, the life a puzzle. I reflected on it. That night, I lay in bed, the room dark, and thought, she's perfect. The love, the envy, the glances, it all mixed. I muttered, but something's off, and added, need a figure, the doubt a rock. The pillow was cool, and I said to myself, stay alert, the resolve steady. The clock showed 11 o'clock, and I felt the crack start, the life a question. The silence grew, and I ended with her smile in mind, the truth looming. The way she handled those glances started to bug me, and I knew I had to say something. I sat on the couch that evening, her next to me, and thought, need to talk. The TV was off, and I turned to her, saying, can you tone it down with other guys? My voice hesitant. I muttered to myself, first step, and added, don't want trouble, the tension rising. The room was quiet, and I felt the unease grow, the house still. The clock ticked, and I waited for her answer. She responded softly. She looked at me, her eyes gentle, and said, "If it bothers you, I won't do it again," her tone calm. I thought that was easy, and muttered, "Too easy, maybe," the doubt creeping. I added. She agreed fast, the worry faint. The cushions shifted, and I felt the guilt hit, her words sinking in. The window showed the street, and I saw her smile, the life a question. The silence grew, and I kept quiet, the plan forming. I felt guilty. That night, I lay in bed, her breathing beside me, and thought, "Am I wrong?" The request replayed, and I muttered, limiting her, the shame rising. I added, "Maybe I'm overreacting." The unease clear, the sheets rustled, and I felt the tension hold, the house dark. She turned, "You okay?" And I said, "Yeah," my voice flat. The clock showed 11 o'clock, and I saw the doubt, the life shifting. The pillow was cool, and I stayed still, the worry growing. We planned a wedding. The next morning, we talked over coffee, and she said, "Let's set a date," her voice excited. I thought, moving forward, and muttered, "Good sign," the hope rising. I added, "Maybe I'm fine," the guilt fading. The mugs clinked, and I felt the relief grow, the house warm. She smiled big day, and I nodded, "Yeah," my tone steady. The calendar flipped, and I saw the future, the life a dream. The sun hit, and I kept going, the doubt a memory. The day was perfect. That afternoon, we met the planner, picking flowers, and I thought, fairy tale stuff. The venue was set white and bright, and I muttered, "She deserves it." The love clear. I added, "No issues yet." The unease gone. The catalog rustled, and I felt the joy rise. The house a plan. She said, "Perfect," her voice light, and I said, "Sure," my tone calm. The table creaked, and I saw the day, the life of celebration. The light faded, and I stayed happy, the worry faint. She kept her word. That evening, we had dinner with friends, and I watched her talk, no flirty looks, and thought, "She's trying." A guy waved, and she nodded, no smile, and I muttered, "Good enough," the relief steady. I added, "Maybe I was wrong," the guilt returning. The plates clinked, and I felt the tension ease, the house full. She said, "Nice night," her tone normal, and I nodded, "Yeah," my voice flat. The door closed, and I saw the trust, the life a start. I second-guessed myself. The next day, I worked in the garage, tools clanking, and thought, was I too harsh? The request felt heavy, and I muttered, "Her freedom," the shame clear. I added, "Maybe it's me," the doubt growing. The hammer tapped, and I felt the unease rise. The house quiet. She called, "Help?" And I said, "Later," my tone steady. The bench creaked, and I saw the past, the life a question. The window showed the yard, and I kept quiet, the worry back. The wedding neared. That afternoon we tried on suits, and she picked my tie, saying, "Looks good," her voice warm. I thought, getting real, and muttered, "No problems," the hope rising. I added, "She's in," the guilt fading. The mirror reflected, and I felt the joy grow, the house a plan. She smiled, ready, and I nodded, "Yeah," my tone calm. The rack shifted, and I saw the day, the life a dream. The light hit, and I stayed focused, the doubt a shadow. I reflected on it. That night, I sat on the bed, her asleep, and thought, she's perfect still. The requests, the wedding, the glances, it all mixed. I muttered, maybe I overdid it, and added, but something's off, the worry firm. The pillow was cool, and I said to myself, watch closer, the resolve steady. The clock showed 10 o'clock, and I felt the cracks start, the life a puzzle. The silence grew, and I ended with her face in mind, the truth looming. The wedding was over, but something new started to nag at me. I sat on the couch that evening, scrolling my phone, and thought, check the updates. A friend, Lisa, had posted an Instagram story, and there she was, dancing at a club, close to some guy. I muttered to myself, what's this? And added, not good, the tension rising. The screen glowed, and I felt the unease grow, the house quiet. The clock ticked, and I watched the clip again. The dance looked off. That moment, the video showed her moving, her hips swaying, the guy's hands near her waist, and I thought, too much. The music was loud, the lights flashing, and I muttered, sensual stuff, the doubt creeping. I added, not just friends, the worry firm. The phone buzzed, and I felt the anger simmer, the house still. The clip looped, and I saw her laugh, the life a question. The The cushion shifted, and I kept quiet, the plan forming. I confronted her. That night, she came home, kicking off her shoes, and I said, "Who was that guy?" My voice tight. She froze and said, "I was drunk. It was just a dance." "You know I love you." Her tone soft. I thought excuses and muttered, "Too easy," the suspicion rising. I added, "Love doesn't fit." The unease clear, the door clicked, and I felt the tension hold. The house tense. The floor creaked, and I saw her eyes, the life shifting. She stayed calm. That morning, I made coffee, the pot gurgling, and she sat, saying it's fine, right? Her voice steady. I thought, pushing it, and muttered, not convinced, the doubt growing. I added, wanted to believe, the worry deep. The mugs clinked, and I felt the anger rise, the house quiet. She smiled, "Let's move on," and I nodded, "Yeah," my tone flat. The window showed the yard, and I suppressed it, the life a mask. I doubted more. That afternoon, I replayed the story, the dance looping, and thought, something's wrong. The guy's smile, her closeness, and I muttered, not random, the suspicion firm. I added, she liked it, the unease clear, the phone heated, and I felt the tension build, the house empty. She texted, "Work late," and I said, "Okay," my voice normal. The screen lit, and I saw the pattern, the life unraveling. She acted normal. That evening, we ate dinner, chicken and veggies, and she said, "Good day," her tone light. I thought, pretending, and muttered, hiding it, the doubt rising. I added, I wanted to believe. I really did. The worry steady. The plates clinked, and I felt the anger simmer, the house warm. She smiled, relaxed, and I nodded, sure, my tone flat. The sink ran, and I kept quiet, the life a puzzle. The seeds grew. The next day, I walked the dog, the leash tight, and thought, can't shake it. The dance, her words, and I muttered, doubt's here. The suspicion clear. I added, but the seeds of doubt had already taken root. The unease firm. The path crunched, and I felt the tension hold. The park quiet. She called back soon, and I said, yeah, my voice steady. The trees swayed, and I saw the truth, the life a trap. I suppressed it. That afternoon, I worked at the desk, papers shuffling, and thought, push it down. The video played in my head, and I muttered, stay calm, the doubt growing. I added, wanted to trust, the worry deep. The chair creaked, and I felt the anger rise, the house still. She came in, help? And I said, later, my tone normal. The window showed the street, and I held it in, the life a question. She avoided it. That evening, we watched TV, her leg away, and she said, funny show, her voice casual. I thought, ignoring it, and muttered, not talking, the suspicion firm. I added, I wanted to believe. I really did. The unease clear. The remote clicked, and I felt the tension build. The house tense. She yawned, bed, and I nodded. Okay, my tone flat. The screen faded, and I saw the distance, the life shifting. I reflected on it. That night, I lay in bed, her asleep, and thought, the dance was wrong. The story, her excuse, the glances, it all mixed. I muttered, not okay, and added, but the seeds of doubt had already taken root. The doubt a rock. The pillow was cool, and I said to myself, watch her, the resolve steady. The clock showed 10 o'clock, and I felt the crack widen, the life a puzzle. The silence grew, and I ended with the video in mind, the truth looming. The dance video wouldn't leave my head, and I needed to know the truth. I sat at the desk that morning, laptop open, and thought, have to test her. The doubts from the story kept growing, so I decided to set up a loyalty check. I muttered to myself, find a way, and added, can't ignore it. The tension rising. The screen loaded, and I felt the unease grow, the house quiet. The chair creaked, and I started searching. I made a fake email. That afternoon, I created a new account, something random like TestGuy123, and thought, keep it hidden. I found a website offering loyalty tests, hired an actor, and muttered, this could work. The plan forming. I added, no trace, the worry firm. The keyboard clicked, and I felt the guilt hit, the house still. The window showed the yard, and I saw the step, the life a gamble. The mouse moved, and I kept quiet, the doubt await. I planned a scenario. That evening, I contacted the agency, outlined it on the phone, and thought, make it right. I said, pretend it's a business meeting, soft flirt only. If she agrees to leave, tell her it's a test. My voice steady. I muttered, no harm, and added, just see, the tension building. The call ended, and I felt the unease rise. The house dark. The receiver clicked, and I saw the setup, the life a trap. The clock ticked, and I waited, the plan set. She was out. The next morning, she left for work, saying back later, and I thought, good timing. The actor was scheduled for noon, and I muttered, here we go, the resolve firm. I added, need to know, the guilt creeping. The door shut, and I felt the tension hold, the house empty. The phone buzzed, the agency confirming, and I saw the move, the life a question. The screen lit, and I kept calm, the doubt growing. I felt guilty. That afternoon, I paced the living room, the clock nearing noon, and thought, this is wrong. The plan replayed, and I muttered, I didn't want this, the shame rising. I added, but I had to know, the worry deep, the carpet muffled, and I felt the tension build, the house quiet. She texted, busy day, and I said, okay, my tone normal. The window showed the street, and I suppressed it, the life a test. The actor was ready. That evening, the agency sent details, me at a cafe, casual approach, and I thought, set for tomorrow. I muttered, soft start, and added, see her reaction, the plan clear. The email pinged, and I felt the unease grow, the house still. The chair creaked, and I saw the step, the life a gamble. The light dimmed, and I kept quiet, the doubt a rock. The phone stayed silent, and I planned, the truth looming. I second-guessed it. The next day, I made coffee, the pot gurgling, and thought, should I stop? The guilt hit hard, and I muttered, not fair, the shame clear. I added, but I had to know, the resolve firm. The mug warmed, and I felt the tension rise. The house quiet. She said, see you tonight? And I nodded, yeah, my voice steady. The window showed the yard, and I held in the life of decision. I checked the plan. That afternoon, I reviewed the actor's instructions, the cafe location, and thought, no mistakes. The scenario was set, flirt, invite, reveal, and I muttered, hope it's nothing, the hope fading. I added, need the truth, the worry deep. The paper rustled, and I felt the unease build, the house empty. The clock showed 11 o'clock, and I saw the move, the life a trap. The desk creaked, and I kept calm, the doubt a guide. She left on time. That evening, she grabbed her bag, saying, meeting at noon, and I thought, perfect fit. I muttered, actor's error, and added, watch it play. The plan set. The door clicked, and I felt the tension hold, the house still. The phone lit, the agency ready, and I saw the step, the life a test. The silence grew, and I stayed quiet, the truth close. The window darkened, and I waited, the doubt a rock. I reflected on it. That night, I sat on the couch, the room dark, and thought, this is it. The test, the guilt, the plan, it all mixed. I muttered, I didn't want this, and added, but I had to know, the doubt await. The cushion sagged, and I said to myself, see tomorrow, the resolve steady. The clock showed 9 o'clock, and I felt the crack widen, the life a question. The silence held, and I ended with the cafe in mind, the truth looming. The test was set, and I couldn't back out now. I sat at the desk that morning, laptop open, and thought, time to watch. The agency had planted a hidden camera at the cafe, and I logged into the live feed, muttering, here it goes. The tension rising. I added, need to see, the unease growing. The screen loaded, and I felt the nerves hit, the house quiet. The chair creaked, and I started the stream. She arrived. That noon, the feed showed her walking in, sitting at a table, and I thought, there she is. The actor approached, a guy in a suit, and I muttered, play cool, the plan unfolding. I added, watch her, the worry firm. The camera panned, and I felt the tension build, the cafe busy. The window showed the street, and I saw her smile, the life a question. The audio crackled, and I kept quiet, the doubt await. He complimented her. The actor sat, saying, you look great today, his tone smooth, and she laughed. Thanks. Her voice light. I thought, too friendly, and muttered, she likes it, the suspicion rising. I added, not resisting, the unease clear. The table shifted, and I felt the anger simmer, the feed steady. The cup clinked, and I saw her ease, the life a trap. The screen glowed, and I held my breath, the truth close. She removed her ring. That moment, Her hand moved under the table, the ring slipping off, and I thought, what's she doing? The actor smiled, and I muttered, hiding it, the shock hitting. I added, not married now, the worry deep. The camera zoomed, and I felt the tension rise, the cafe quiet. The cloth rustled, and I saw the move, the life shattering. The audio hummed, and I stayed still, the doubt growing. He asked her. The actor leaned in, saying, is someone with you? And she replied, no, I'm free, her tone casual. I thought, no way, and muttered, she lied, the disbelief clear. I added, free for me, the anger boiling. The table creaked, and I felt the tension break, the feed raw. The screen lit, and I saw her face, the life of ruin. The speaker crackled, and I kept watching, the truth out. I was stunned. That afternoon, the feed continued, her laughing again, and I thought, can't be real. The actor flirted more, and I muttered, she's in, the shock deep. I added, I couldn't believe it was happening, the guilt fading. The camera held, and I felt the anger rise, the house empty. The window showed the yard, and I saw the betrayal, the life over. The laptop hummed, and I stayed frozen, the doubt gone. She stayed engaged. That moment, she touched his arm, saying, you're funny, and I thought, too comfortable. The actor grinned, and I muttered, no shame, the suspicion firm. I added, I didn't want to, the unease clear. The table shifted, and I felt the tension hold, the cafe scene. The screen glowed, and I saw her ease, the life a lie. The audio played, and I kept quiet, the truth await. I couldn't deny it. That evening, the feed looped, her words replaying, and I thought, it's true. The ring, the answer, the laugh, and I muttered, screen shows it, the shock firm. I added, but the screen didn't lie, the resolve setting. The chair creaked, and I felt the anger focus, the house still. The window darkened, and I saw the end, the life of decision. The speaker muted, and I held in the doubt of memory. She left the cafe. That night, she stood to go, the actor waving, and I thought, done there. The feed cut, and I muttered, wait for more, the plan unfinished. I added, I couldn't believe it, the worry deep. The screen went black, and I felt the tension lift, the house quiet. The clock showed 1 o'clock, and I saw the step, the life a trap. The laptop cooled, and I stayed calm, the truth looming. I reflected on it. That moment I sat back, the room dark, and thought, she's not mine. The camera, the ring, the words, it all hit. I muttered, I didn't want this, and added, but the screen didn't lie, the doubt a rock. The cushion sagged, and I said to myself, next move, the resolve steady. The clock showed 9 o'clock, and I felt the crack widen, the life a question. The silence grew, and I ended with a feed in mind, the truth undeniable. The cafe feed left me reeling, and I couldn't stop the test now. I sat at the desk that afternoon, laptop open, and thought, keep watching. The live stream resumed, the actor still with her, and I muttered, what's next? The tension rising. I added, can't look away, the unease growing. The screen refreshed, and I felt the nerves hit, the house quiet. The chair creaked, and I stayed on, the doubt await. He suggested leaving. That moment, the actor leaned in, saying, want to go somewhere quieter? And she nodded, yes, her voice quick. I thought, no pause, and muttered, too fast, the shock hitting. I added, she's in the worry deep. The camera shook, and I felt the tension break, the cafe fading. The table shifted, and I saw her rise, the life shattering. The audio hummed, and I kept quiet, the truth close. She agreed easily. That afternoon they stood, her grabbing her bag, and I thought, no fight. The actor smiled, leading her out, and I muttered, gone with him, the disbelief clear. I added, no hesitation, the anger boiling. The feed panned, and I felt the tension rise, the house empty. The door clicked on screen, and I saw the move, the life of ruin. The speaker crackled, and I stayed still, the doubt gone. I called her. That evening, I dialed her number, the phone ringing, and thought, pick up? It went to voicemail, and I muttered, not answering, the suspicion firm. I added, where is she? The worry deep. The line beeped, and I felt the tension hold, the house silent. The screen showed the empty cafe, and I saw the silence, the life over. The phone dropped, and I kept watching, the truth a rock. I heard the words. That night, the feed resumed, the actor's voice saying, you kiss well, followed by a kiss sound and silence, and I thought, no way. The audio cut, and I muttered, "She did it." The shock raw. I added, "Proof there," the anger focus. The screen froze, and I felt the tension break. The house dark. The window showed the street, and I saw the betrayal, the life shattered. The laptop hummed, and I stayed frozen. The doubt of memory. I couldn't sleep. That moment, I paced the living room, the clock at 2 o'clock, and thought, can't rest. The kiss replayed, and I muttered, over and over. The pain clear. I added, she's gone. The resolve setting, the carpet muffled, and I felt the tension rise. The house quiet. The window showed the night, and I saw the end, the life a wreck. The phone stayed silent, and I kept moving, the truth await. The night dragged. That morning, I sat on the couch, the sun weak, and thought, still awake. The silence was heavy, and I muttered, can't forget. The shock firm. I added, need a plan. The worry deep. The cushion sagged, and I felt the tension hold. The house empty. The clock ticked, and I saw the day, the life of decision. The coffee pot sat cold, and I stayed quiet, the doubt a guide. I decided to act. That afternoon, I grabbed a notebook, writing ideas, and thought, my turn. The kiss, the silence, the test, and I muttered, now it's my game. The resolve clear. I added, take control, the anger focus. The pen scratched, and I felt the tension lift. The house a stage. The window showed the yard, and I saw the step, the life of battle. The paper rustled, and I kept going, the truth a plan. She didn't return. That evening, the door stayed shut, no sign of her, and I thought, out there. The phone was off, and I muttered, good riddance, the suspicion firm. I added, my rules now, the resolve steady. The room darkened, and I felt the tension fade. The house mine. The screen lit, the feed gone, and I saw the end, the life a new start. The silence grew, and I waited, the doubt memory. I reflected on it. That night, I lay in bed, the room dark, and thought, she's done. The test, the kiss, the silence, it all hit. I muttered, no turning back, and added, now it's my game. The doubt a passed. The pillow was cool, and I said to myself, move forward. The resolve firm. The clock showed 10 o'clock, and I felt the crack widen, the life of victory. The silence held, and I ended with a plan in mind, the truth of triumph. The kiss on the feed changed everything, and I knew it was time to end it. I stood in the bedroom that night, her clothes in hand, and thought, pack it up. The decision from my sleepless night fueled me, and I started stuffing her things into suitcases, muttering, no more. The anger rising. I added, my rules now, the tension building. The drawer slammed, and I felt the resolve grow, the house quiet. The clock ticked, and I kept going. I broke the gifts. That morning, I grabbed a vase she loved, smashed it on the floor, and thought, done with this. The pieces scattered, and I muttered, her junk. The rage clear. I added, no memories, the plan firm. The broom swept, and I felt the tension hold. The house empty. The window showed the yard, and I saw the break. The life a wreck. The trash can thumped, and I stayed focused. The doubt of memory. I left the ring. That afternoon, I placed her wedding ring on the kitchen table, front and center, and thought, make it clear. The gold glinted, and I muttered, end of it. The resolve steady. I added, she'll see. The strategy set. The table creaked, and I felt the anger fade, the house a stage. The light hit, and I saw the symbol, the life over. The door stayed shut, and I kept quiet. The truth a plan. I contacted the agency. That evening, I emailed them, typing fast, and thought, he went too far. The actor's kiss deviated from the script, and I wrote, he broke the rules. Punish him. My tone firm. I muttered, not okay, and added, they owe me. The frustration clear. The send button clicked, and I felt the tension rise. The house still. The screen lit, and I saw the move, the life of battle. The reply pinged, and I waited, the doubt gone. She returned. The next morning, the door rattled, her key turning, and I thought, here she is. She walked in tired, and I stood silent, pointing to the suitcases. I muttered no words, and added, let her take it. The resolve steel. The floor creaked, and I felt the tension break. The house mine. The light dimmed, and I saw her face. The life a ruin. The handle clicked, and I kept still. The truth out. She cried silently. That moment, she saw the ring, tears falling, and I thought, no defense. Her hands shook, grabbing a bag, and I muttered, "Good enough," the anger lifting. I added, "Her choice," the plan working. The suitcase thumped, and I felt the tension fade. The house quiet. The window showed the street, and I saw her pain, the life shattered. The door opened, and I stayed calm, the doubt had passed. I watched her go. That afternoon, she lingered, looking back, and I thought, leave already. The suitcases were by the door, and I muttered, time's up, the resolve firm. I added, no turning, the strategy clear. The knob turned, and I felt the peace grow, the house empty. The light hit, and I saw her exit, the life over. The silence grew, and I kept distance. The truth of victory. I checked the agency. That evening they replied, actor reprimanded, and I thought, justice done. The email closed the case, and I muttered, good. The satisfaction clear. I added, my call, the resolve steady. The screen darkened, and I felt the tension lift, the house mine. The chair creaked, and I saw the end, the life a new start. The phone stayed silent, and I planned ahead, the doubt gone. She was gone. The next day, I walked the rooms, no trace of her, and thought, finally, the broken vase was gone, and I muttered, clean slate, the relief firm. I added, her mess out, the peace growing. The carpet muffled, and I felt the calm hold, the house quiet. The window showed the yard, and I saw the freedom, the life of decision. The clock ticked, and I kept moving, the truth a shield. I reflected on it. That night, I sat on the couch, the room dark, and thought, it's over. The packing, the ring, the goodbye, it all worked. I muttered, no regrets, and added, my game now, the doubt of memory. The cushion sagged, and I said to myself, move on, the resolve firm. The clock showed 9 o'clock, and I felt the crack heal, the life of victory. The silence held, and I ended with the suitcases in mind, the truth a triumph. The suitcases were gone, and the silence left me thinking about it all. I sat on the couch that morning, a box of old photos in hand, and thought, need to look back. The goodbye was done, but the pieces lingered, and I muttered, what did I miss? The tension rising. I added, too late now, the unease growing. The room was dim, and I felt the weight hit, the house quiet. The clock ticked, and I opened the box. I flipped through photos. That afternoon, I pulled out a picture from the wedding, her smiling, and thought she looked happy. The next showed her with friends, a guy too close, and I muttered, ignored that, the doubt creeping. I added small signs, the worry firm. The paper crinkled, and I felt the tension build, the house empty. The window showed the yard, and I saw the past, the life a question. The album shifted, and I kept going, the truth await. The signals were there. That evening, I found a shot from a party, her laughing with someone, and thought, too friendly. The glance she gave him, and I muttered, missed it, the shame rising. I added, not just me, the unease clear. The frame bent, and I felt the anger simmer, the house still. The light faded, and I saw the pattern, the life a wreck. The photo dropped, and I stayed quiet, the doubt of memory. I recalled more. The next morning, I dug out a vacation pic, her posing by the beach, and thought, guys stared, the way she posed, and I muttered, liked it, the suspicion firm. I added, didn't stop her, the guilt growing. The sand image blurred, and I felt the tension hold, the house quiet. The window showed the street, and I saw the clues, the life a trap. The box rustled, and I kept flipping, the truth close. The dance came back. That afternoon, I found the club photo Lisa took, her dancing close, and thought, first red flag. The video memory hit, and I muttered, should have known, the shock raw. I added, too late, the worry deep. The paper tore, and I felt the anger rise, the house empty. The screen glowed in my mind, and I saw the betrayal, the life shattered. The album closed, and I stayed still, the doubt gone. I loved her still. That evening, I held a photo of us laughing and thought, I cared. The good times mixed with the bad, and I muttered, even when I knew, the pain clear. I added, shouldn't have, the resolve setting. The frame warmed, and I felt the tension break. The house dark. The window showed the night, and I saw the love, the life of memory. The picture fell, and I kept quiet, the truth a rock. But I chose me. The next day, I sat with the last photo, her alone, and thought, done with that. The goodbye replayed, and I muttered, let her go, the relief firm. I added, I loved her, even when I knew I shouldn't. But now I love myself more. The peace growing. The paper crinkled, and I felt the calm hold, the house mine. The window showed the yard, and I saw the future, the life a new start. The box emptied, and I moved on, the doubt had passed. I sorted it out. That afternoon, I tossed the photos, one by one, and thought, clear it. The trash can thumped, and I muttered, no more. The resolve steady. I added, her story, the freedom clear, the lid closed, and I felt the tension lift, the house quiet. The light hit, and I saw the end, the life decision. The floor creaked, and I kept going, the truth a shield. The window darkened, and I stayed calm, the peace real. The past faded. That evening, I leaned back, the box gone, and thought, moving on, the signals, the love, the goodbye, it all settled. I muttered, learned it, and added, myself first, the resolve firm. The cushion sagged, and I felt the calm deepen, the house mine. The room darkened, and I saw the solitude, the life of victory. The clock showed 9 o'clock, and I kept quiet, the doubt of memory. I reflected on it. That night, I lay in bed, the room dark, and thought, it's over. The photos, the signs, the love, it all clicked. I muttered, I loved her, even when I knew I shouldn't, and added, but now I love myself more. The doubt had passed. The pillow was cool, and I said to myself, keep going, the resolve steady. The clock ticked, and I felt the crack heal, the life of triumph. The silence held, and I ended with the trash in mind, the truth a new start. The photos were gone, and I knew it was time to finish this. I stood in the empty bedroom that morning, boxes packed, and thought, time to move. The goodbye had cleared the air, and I started carrying stuff out, muttering, new start, the tension rising. I added, know her, the resolve growing. The door creaked, and I felt the weight lift, the house quiet. The clock ticked, and I kept going. I moved out. That afternoon, I loaded the last box into the truck, the new place waiting, and thought, done here. The old house felt foreign, and I muttered, leave it. The freedom clear. I added, her out, the plan firm. The engine started, and I felt the tension fade, the street busy. The mirror showed the past, and I saw the break, the life a new chapter. The wheels turned, and I stayed focused, the doubt of memory. Friends asked questions. That evening, I met Dave at a bar, him saying, what happened? And I replied, we were incompatible, my tone flat. I thought, keep it simple, and muttered, no details, the resolve steady. I added, their guess, the unease gone. The glass clinked, and I felt the calm hold, the place loud. The light dimmed, and I saw the distance, the life a shield. The stool creaked, and I kept quiet, the truth a wall. I cut ties. The next morning, I blocked her number, deleted her contacts, and thought, no connection. The phone cleared, and I muttered, gone, the relief firm. I added, no calls, the strategy set. The screen lit, and I felt the tension lift, the new place quiet. The window showed the yard, and I saw the end, the life of decision. The chair shifted, and I stayed calm, the doubt had passed. The agency responded. That afternoon, I checked my email, a message from them, and thought, here it is. They wrote, actor dismissed as requested, and I muttered, good. The satisfaction clear. I added, justice done, the resolve steady. The laptop hummed, and I felt the peace grow, the house mine. The screen darkened, and I saw the closure, the life of victory. The reply sent, and I kept going, the truth of triumph. I settled in. That evening, I unpacked basics, a lamp on, and thought, my space. Know her things, and I muttered, clean slate, the freedom firm. I added, no traces, the plan working. The bulb clicked, and I felt the calm deepen, the place quiet. The box emptied, and I saw the future, the life a new start. The floor creaked, and I stayed focused, the doubt gone. Friends tried again. The next day, my sister called asking, you okay? And I said, we were incompatible, my voice steady. I thought, same line, and muttered, no more, the resolve clear. I added, their problem, the peace growing. The phone buzzed, and I felt the tension fade, the house mine. The window showed the street, and I saw the distance, the life a shield. The call ended, and I kept quiet, the truth a wall. I erased more. That afternoon, I deleted old messages, her name fading, and thought, all out, The screen cleared, and I muttered, done, the relief firm. I added, no links, the strategy set. The keyboard clicked, and I felt the calm hold, the place quiet. The light hit, and I saw the end, the life decision. The trash icon blinked, and I stayed calm. The doubt had passed. The past stayed behind. That evening, I sat on the new couch, the room dark, and thought, moved on. The goodbye, the blocks, the agency, it all settled. I muttered her fault and added, my life now, the resolve steady. The cushion sagged, and I felt the peace deepen, the house mine. The clock showed 9 o'clock, and I saw the solitude, the life of victory. The silence grew, and I kept quiet, the truth of triumph. I reflected on it. That night, I lay in bed, the room quiet, and thought, it's over. The move, the calls, the email, it all clicked. I muttered, no regrets, and added, final steps, the doubt of memory. The pillow was cool, and I said to myself, keep it, the resolve firm. The clock ticked, and I felt the crack heal, the life a new path. The silence held, and I ended with a new place in mind, the truth a shield. The new place felt like home, and time had passed since she left. I sat on the couch that morning, coffee in hand, and thought, life's different. The silence was mine now, and I muttered, no echoes, the peace rising. I added, moved on, the resolve growing. The mug warmed, and I felt the calm deepen, the house quiet. The clock ticked, and I started the day. I got a message. That afternoon, my phone buzzed, her name popping up, and thought, what now? The text read, I'm sorry. I don't know what came over me. You were the best man in my life. And I muttered, too late, the surprise fading. I added, words now, the unease brief. The screen lit, and I felt the tension lift, the place still. The window showed the yard, and I saw the past, the life of memory. The phone sat, and I kept quiet, the doubt gone. I read it again. That evening, I opened the message, her words lingering, and thought, she means it? The apology sat there, and I muttered, doesn't change it, the resolve firm. I added, her regret, the peace holding. The couch creaked, and I felt the calm grow, the house mine. The light dimmed, and I saw the distance, the life of choice. The screen darkened, and I stayed still, the truth a shield. I didn't reply. The next morning, I scrolled past it, the phone silent, and thought, no need. The text stayed unread, and I muttered, let it be, the satisfaction clear. I added, my call, the strategy set. The mug clinked, and I felt the tension fade, the place quiet. The window showed the street, and I saw the end, the life of victory. The coffee pot hummed, and I kept going, the doubt had passed. Time moved on. That afternoon, I watered a plant, the soil damp, and thought, growing here, know her shadow, and I muttered, my space, the relief firm. I added, no contact, the peace steady. The can dripped, and I felt the calm hold, the house mine. The sun hit, and I saw the future, the life a new start. The floor creaked, and I stayed focused, the truth a wall. She faded more. That evening, I cooked dinner, the pan sizzling, and thought, just me. The message crossed my mind, and I muttered, old news, the resolve clear. I added, her loss, the satisfaction growing. The plate clinked, and I felt the tension lift, the place quiet. The window darkened, and I saw the solitude, the life of triumph. The stove clicked off, and I kept quiet, the doubt gone. I felt peace. The next day, I sat with book, the pages turning, and thought, this is it. The silence was full, and I muttered, no drama, the calm deep. I added, my choice, the resolve firm. The chair creaked, and I felt the peace hold, the house mine. The light faded, and I saw the strength, the life of victory. The bookmark slipped, and I stayed calm, the truth a shield. Her words lingered. That afternoon, I checked the phone again, the message unread, and thought, still there. The apology sat, and I muttered, doesn't matter, the peace steady. I added, I chose me, the satisfaction clear. The screen glowed, and I felt the tension fade, the place quiet. The window showed the yard, and I saw the past, the life of memory. The power saved, and I kept going, the doubt had passed. I concluded it. That night, I lay in bed, the room dark, and thought, it's done. The move, the message, the life, it all settled. For the first time in a long while, I felt peace, and above all, pride, because I chose myself. The pillow was cool, and I said to myself, keep it, the resolve firm. The clock showed 9 o'clock, and I felt the crack heal, the life of triumph. The silence held, and I ended with the phone off. The truth of victory.